Have you met that guy who's a trophy hunter? I've met him too.
Don't put your values and your expectations on new hunters. For the love of pepperoni pizza, it's like, just stop.
Do I always wait for the biggest buck? Let me ask you a question. Have you watched me on television? This, when I'm shaking, when my heart is just hammering, that's what deer hunting is about. It's not about inches of antler. It's not about, how big is my buck this year compared to last year. To me, it's about the experience. For me, it's about sunrise. It's about sunset. It's about, there's a deer. How many times does that happen to you? That's what deer hunting is about for me.
The way deer hunting is going for me personally is we are getting so incredibly judgmental as a society as a whole, which is a completely different subject. But every bit as detrimental as it is to our society, it is to deer hunting as well. Before you sit there and look at that animal, ask yourself, what's that person's circumstance? Do they really have as much time to hunt as you do? Do they have the quality of ground that you do? Do they have the same goals and desires that you do? Because the answer to all those questions are probably gonna be no.
Who am I to judge somebody else? I don't know them. I don't know their experience. Doesn't matter if they have a little experience or a lot of experience. I don't know what that moment meant to them. I can get a feel for it. If they're really excited, I know it meant a lot. And if they're not excited, who cares? It doesn't matter. That was their personal moment.
You can go ahead and hunt with your family and friends on a property, and it's not going to be the end of the world. If you don't do anything but send them out there and say have fun, are you going to push some deer to the neighbors? Of course you're going to. Or you can go ahead and do it another way. You can go ahead and set that ground up specifically to create high odds, low impact deer stands. As long as those deer do not smell you, as long as they do not hear you, as long as they do not see you, you weren't there.
Where there's a will, there's a way. If you have several people in several different paths along that journey, a new hunter, a rookie hunter, a casual hunter, and a die-hard trophy hunter, you can figure out a way. You can figure out a way. It's gonna take a plan. It's gonna take a schedule. You can't just let everybody run wild at the same time if you've got that kind of mix of people. To me, that's just as fun as trying to strategize how to get that buck.
Land of Whitetail is brought to you by Cuddyback. CuddyLink, 16 cameras, 1 cell plan, $10 a month. By Thompson Center, America's master gunmaker. Get armed and deadly with Easton FMJ arrows. And by Matthews Archery. Visit sportsmansguide.com today and see why they're the place to go to get where you want to be outdoors. Find the very best deals on the latest gear for hunting, shooting, camping, and everything else under the stars to fuel your passion. Shop sportsmansguide.com.
None of us, almost none of us, the very first time went out and thought to ourselves, golly gee whiz, I want to get into deer hunting because I want to kill this. No, we got into it because our friends did. Our family did. We have a connection to nature, all this type of good stuff.
The last thing we need is to chase youngsters and those new to hunting away from the sport by placing unreal expectations on them. And if that means letting them shoot a young buck or 2 or 3 or 4, I think it'll be well worth the investment. I think the first 5 or 6 deer I shot as a beginner were does and fawns. And I remember getting so much support from the older guys. They couldn't give a rip if I had just shot a doe or a fawn instead of a buck. And I certainly didn't care. And I was learning about deer hunting without even realizing it. I was learning how to field dress a deer. I was learning how to track wounded deer. I was learning about gun safety. It was all part of the experience.
Love to see younger generations be brought up with the right mindset of what it is to be an archer, of what it is to go out and shoot a deer with a rifle or with a shotgun. I think there's so much more to it, to staying in a bunkhouse with different people and learning where they come from in their lives, and being out in the woods and getting up early and coming in and making coffee and sitting down at a table with people that you've never met before, but you're there to join the group and they all enjoy the same things that you do.
I'm Taylor. I'm a deer hunter, and my favorite part of hunting is being with my dad and just seeing all the beautiful animals of nature.
I'm still shaking.
What happened?
I just got my first deer.
Did you?
Yeah, and I'm still shaking.
Tell me about it.
I think it's a doe. Is it a doe? Yeah, it's a doe, and I'm still shaking.
Let's go check it out.
Well, my girls, they both go out and they get a deer basically on their first, well, it's their first shot. I want to say their first try. I mean, it took several days. But their reactions, oh my gosh, priceless. I mean, I had every goosebump in my arm, every hair, I don't have any on my head, but every hair on my neck is standing on end. Just that surge of emotion, you can see it in their eyes. You can hear it in their voices. It doesn't get any better than that. This is real. This is very real.
Do you think we'll see a deer today?
Who knows?
That's part of the fun, right?
Yeah, but the most fun part, and if I don't see a deer, I'll see my daddy. That makes me happy.
With Taylor, it was a little bit of a struggle just to get her to see a deer from the blind for a long time. It took days, and I think we went on for some weeks before she saw a deer. And a friend of ours set us up in a spot where we knew we were going to see a deer. Taylor puts the crosshairs on that deer, and I'm just bracing myself for the shot. Pow! She shoots. I look, and that deer just crumpled in its tracks. I mean, she perfectly hit it, dropped it right in its tracks.
What just happened?
I just got a deer! For the first time, I lined up perfectly like my dad taught me to, and bang, she was down. Dad didn't even have to shoot her a second time. She was just...
She's not moving?
No, not at all. She hasn't moved.
Taylor,
Oh my
I'm
God,
so proud
this
of you.
is my first deer ever!
I'm so proud of you, Taylor.
God.
Okay, let's say a quick prayer.
Dear God, thank you for letting me get this deer, and thank you for allowing us to hunt on your sacred ground. Thank you for letting us get this beautiful deer for my first hunt. Thank you.
Thank you, and let's go check her out, okay?
Hallelujah!
I didn't know it was gonna happen, and she just fell over like the mannequins at the store if you accidentally push them.
I don't know how he did it. They just like, you know, like when you go to the store, the mannequin falls over, which I've never seen a mannequin fall over, but that was the best. That's got to be the quote of the century.
She's so fluffy.
I'm very proud of you, Taylor.
Thank you, Daddy. I'm proud of myself, too.
I've always been an outdoors person since the age of 5. My parents would take us camping every weekend, and I mean every weekend. Tent camping and eventually, you know, camping in a trailer and stuff. Always outdoors, fishing, doing different things. And I had never tried hunting. I'd always shot guns as I was older, as a teenager and stuff. And as a teenager, I was diagnosed with cancer. and the outlook was not very promising. In fact, I was told that if there were things that I wanted to do, that I should probably make a list of those things. And on that list, my bucket list, was hunting. It's a lifestyle for me. It's the outdoors, it's the bows, it's the guns, it's the camaraderie, it's the season, it's everything about it. It's the spirit of the deer, it's taking a deer. It's just, you know, if you're not a hunter, I wouldn't expect you to understand, but if you are, you get it. You just feel it in your bones, and that's what it is for me, and that's really where it started.
Land of Whitetail is brought to you by 10-Point Crossbow Technologies. There is no substitute. By Sever Broadheads, straight through it. I scent killer gold with Hunt Dry Plus technology. Apply it, dry it, and go hunt. B&W Trailer Hitches Tow and Stow, the last trailer hitch you'll ever need.
So today we're out in the stands. It started off windy, not as bad as it was last night. Last night, man, it was crazy. It was like Dorothy out there. We didn't see anything. The other guys in the other stands didn't see anything. But come this morning, I had some hope that we would have the wind die down a little bit. It was probably around 10, 15 miles an hour today. So we're out in the stand, and we see, you know, we're backed up right against this ridge, and we see a couple doe and some fawn come in, which was good. That was promising. And then they ended up taking off, and we saw another doe come in. She went up the ridge back here, and just as we were about to duck out of our stands, we're kind of debating because we hadn't seen anything for about an hour and a half. All of a sudden we look, and bam! That's what I see, the hind side, and I'm like, you know what? That's a deer. So we wait a couple seconds, and we watch, and he kind of like tinkers on. All of a sudden, you see the rack come up? It's got to be at least an 8 or a 10. Real thick, real nice. And just as he comes around, boom, he starts jetting so fast. We think that he was tailing that doe that was coming up along that ridge, or there was another, probably a bigger guy coming in, and he was like, I'm getting out of here so he doesn't get attacked and have to put up a fight on a beautiful Saturday morning. So that's what we saw out there. Maybe tonight we'll see some more. I hope so, man, because I got 3 tags to fill and I want to fill them all.
All of a sudden, there's another buck that comes down from the ridge. It's working its way down. So he comes down, and then I sit down in the stand, and I kind of turn. I have to turn all the way around in the opposite direction. And as I turn and I see him come in, I'm like, okay, it's now or never. This is it. He comes in, and I pull back, and as I go to pull back, that bow, it starts squeaking because it's so cold out there. Up, and he looks around a little bit, and I let the bow go back down. He's looking around, and then all of a sudden he looks back down, and I pull back, and here it is. I pull all the way back, and I wait, line up. Lord Jesus, amen. Lord God. That moment of affliction where I still feel bad. My bow is even squeaking. Been hunting for 12 or 13 years. And it still gets me. So I'm grateful. He was so close. Good day of hunting. It's not about the size of the deer. It's not about trophy hunting. It's about taking an animal that God gives you, whether it's doe Whether it's a 6-point or a 14-point, whatever you're lucky enough to shoot that God gives you, you need to be grateful for that. And I am. The whole experience, everything. It's not just about venison, it's not just about the camaraderie, it's not about just being out here in the woods or saying I shot this big giant buck or a doe. It's about everything. It's a spiritual experience for me. And I don't take this lightly, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful.
That is what hunting is supposed to be all about.
I don't care if you're traveling by plane, train, or automobile. If you're traveling with a rifle, the first thing you need to do when you get deer camp is to check the alignment to make sure your scope isn't off. Okay, this is what I'm always hoping to see. I'm an inch high, pretty much right over the bullseye. I had this gun sighted in at 2 inches high at 100 yards, so I'm well within that 1.5 inches that this gun has been shooting. I can just go out hunting. But what happens if your bullet impacts way over here? Now don't panic. I've got a quick and easy tip to get your gun back on target without burning up a whole lot of ammunition. The first thing I'm going to do when I get back to the bench is make sure that all the scope screws are nice and snug. I'm going to get out the multi-tool and I'm going to snug everything down really good. And by the way, I'm a big proponent of shooting quality ammunition like this Hornady Precision Hunter. This is high quality, match grade ammunition. And what it does is it removes a variable. I know this ammo shoots, so I know if I do my part and the rifle does its part, I'm going to get good solid groups. So I just don't have to worry about that part of it. Okay, the first thing we need to do is get the rifle on a stable platform. I like to use a lead sled because it's just very solid and I know the rifle's not going to move. But you can use sandbags, you can use a backpack if you have to, as long as you can get the rifle in a very solid position so that it won't move when you start making adjustments. Okay, now what I want to do is line up the crosshairs where I want the bullet to impact. In this case, 2 inches high, right above the bullseye. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the turret caps and I'm going to turn the turrets to the left and up and walk those crosshairs right up to that other bullet hole that's up there in the left-hand corner. Now what I've done is I've realigned the rifle bore with the crosshairs. So now everything should be back in alignment. I can come back and I can aim at the bullseye and the bullet should impact that 2 inches high right above the bullseye and it should be good to go.
You know, one of the troubling things about today's society is we have become so unbelievably judgmental. You know, and frankly, we've lost a lot of just common decency. If you lean towards the left and I lean towards the right, my God, I gotta hate you. If the opposite's the case, you know, you all have to hate me. Like baloney. We need to get along. Not just for the sake of our civilization, but let's look at this selfishly. How do the anti-hunters, how do they achieve virtually anything in this world? They divide and conquer. They pit us against each other. I lived this through trapping. I saw how they turned the hound hunters against the trappers against the hound hunters, and literally ruined the sport to the point where, heck, to this day, fur markets haven't rebounded from when I was all the way back in college. If your neighbor or friend or brother or sister shoots a crossbow, more power to them. If they shoot a high-powered rifle, more power to them. If they're out there legally putting out corn piles for hunting, awesome. If you're hunting over a food plot, great. If you are up in New Hampshire tracking deer through the mountains with snow, great for you. We all need to go ahead and figure out a way where we can get along and stop bashing the snot out of everybody. But even all I'm trying to do is help you guys. I'm not trying to sell you a dang thing. And even I'd say 1 out of every 4 shows somebody's made, I must be nice sitting up in some, hunting shack, sitting over a food plot. That ain't hunting. Yeah, it is. Guess what? It is hunting. And I know it's hunting because I hunt public ground just like everybody else. I hunt small private properties just like everybody else. I'm just lucky enough that 50% of my hunting is on Utopia. And I'll tell you what, I really appreciate that. But it is all hunting. Is hunting public ground as easy as it is? Some of these properties I manage have virtually unlimited budgets by the client. No, it's not the same. And that's okay, because guess what? If they don't have Utopia, that doesn't make the public ground any better. And if the public ground isn't there anymore, and that guy's sitting over that corn pile back there, you know what? That doesn't make Utopia any better. We have to focus on simply enjoying this stuff and stop trying to judge everybody for inches, for what you're hunting with, for how you're hunting. You know what? The point is you're not sitting your butt on the couch. Instead, you're out there having fun, and we all should applaud anybody who's doing that legally and ethically.